We're here to discuss the idea of how you can attract more money into your life by whatever methodology you so desire. Now, yes, as a very brief recap, yes, it is for the most part based on the idea of following your joy. Absolutely, because that is fundamentally who you are. Your excitement, your vibration is who you are. By acting on your joy, it is far more likely that you're going to put yourself in the proper place and time to see the opportunities that can allow you to act upon them to bring you more money in your life. Please do remember, and we will get into this in another way, in a new way in a moment, but please do remember that abundance really is only the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it. It can be money. It doesn't have to be money, but it can be money, and because that is the subject of this discussion, we will focus on that. Now, what we are really saying here, in terms of giving you more of an opportunity to attract more money in your life, is we are helping in this discussion to uncover and to clarify your relationship to money and abundance. Your relationship to money and abundance. Because that is all it takes. That's all that's required to allow money to come pouring in rivers, in waterfalls into your life. Because the universe is abundant. Your planet has all the money it needs for every single one of the individuals that we are talking to now in this gathering, and many, 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 many more to become what you call millionaires. More than enough for that. Remember, one of the reasons that is so is that not everyone needs or wants to really be a millionaire. So the idea is that for everyone that is truly excited and attracted to that experience, there is enough for you to become a multi-millionaire. There is. After all, you create the idea of money. You can create what you need. Not saying that you should run out and print it. We understand your laws frown on that. But you can create what you need. You can attract what you need in your life regarding as much money as you have ever dreamed of. One of the things that we have said that does go hand in hand with this, of course, is the degree of your activity, the degree to which you put out that you exist on a level that is commensurate with receiving a lot of money in return. For individuals who are simply limiting themselves in certain ways are actually giving off a message that they don't really want or need that much money. But by expanding your expression of self, you give off more of a signal to reality, to the mirror of the universe, that money can be reflected in the degree of expansion you are willing to provide, you are willing to exhibit.
Thank you for just everything. I'm very appreciative, and I just want to thank you from my heart.
If you are appreciative, then we would suggest that you appreciate yourself that much more. All right?
Thank you.
It is no accident in your language that you use the same term for money as you do for self-worth, appreciation. You want to appreciate yourself, then you will grow with interest. Depreciate yourself, and you will be bankrupt. Look at the analogies you have set up in your own language as reflections. Yes?
Yes.
So, appreciate yourself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And may I ask about the little hybrid babies?
Nope.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Remember, your beliefs, your definitions, are what create your reality. Now, one of the things we have said is the idea that you are raised with a number of conflicting ideas about money. One of the ones we have given you already is that when you are growing up, most people, especially in your culture, will say, in order to be successful, in order to be looked at as successful, in order to be considered successful, you must make a lot of money. And again, in the next breath, in the other ear, they say, but money is the root of all evil. That means if you become successful, you are going to be evil. You really do take these concepts to heart. You really do. And when you do, you create this conflict within yourself, this battle, this war within yourselves that doesn't allow you to move ahead. And it sours your relationship to money. And it builds tension and stress within your body because you are literally tearing yourself apart. I want to be successful. I want a lot of money. I will be the devil himself if I become rich. What am I to do? What am I to do? As we have discussed, the idea is to get in touch, of course, with those definitions and clarify them so that you understand that these are not things you must believe in. That you don't have to connect the idea of being a bad person, of being evil, so to speak, with the idea of having money. You don't have to believe that absolute power corrupts absolutely, because it only does when you absolutely believe that it does. That's the point. You need to find your definitions and weed them out, lay them out clearly, separate them out clearly, disentangle them from one another clearly, so that you can understand what you are dealing with, what you have to work with.
I have been doing stock options trading for 10 years plus.
Oh, all right. This excites you?
It does, but it hasn't served me.
It hasn't served you?
No, because I lose more money than I make.
Then it has served you. It has served you very well. Maybe it's serving you by telling you maybe this isn't the way to go for you.
Yes, but
maybe you need to put more stock in yourself.
Why would an intelligent person like me keep doing it for like 10 years?
That's a very intelligent question.
But it still excites me. And I'm trying to follow my excitement.
Are you sure it's really excitement? That's the first thing to always check. Are you actually acting on excitement, or are you actually acting out of anxiety and calling it excitement in a state of denial? Because you might be afraid to actually do the thing that really excites you because you have a definition that it can't support you somehow? Just a question. But you can think about that for a moment.
Yes, perhaps.
Yes, perhaps. All right. Let me put it to you this way. If it wasn't an issue of how it could be helped to happen, what would you rather be doing if you could do anything?
I would like to awaken people to their own health, because I'm always telling families and friends. And
are you saying that that's really exciting for you?
That is really exciting for me.
Is it more exciting than investing in stocks?
Well, stocks has a different kind of excitement.
I understand, but I'm asking you a question right now.
Is it more exciting?
Right now, is that idea, if you knew you could do it, that's more exciting?
Yes.
All right. So what can you do to invest in that first? Because if the stocks actually are representative of one of your expressions of real excitement, the only way you're going to allow it to synchronize and harmonize in a way that really serves you in your life is to act on the thing that excites you the most first and allow that to be the driving engine and the organizing principle of every other expression of excitement that will then automatically play out through synchronicity in your life to show you what you need to do, in what order, and when. This is how you understand how to use excitement, because it is, as we have said many times, a complete kit. It has all the tools you need. It has the driving engine that moves you forward. It has the organizing principle that brings you the synchronicity. It is the path of least resistance. It is the path that connects you to all other forms of excitement in your life. It is the reflective mirror that reveals to you anything that's out of alignment with your excitement so that you can identify it and let it go and add that energy to your excitement. It leaves absolutely nothing relevant out of your life. But the only way it really works in the way that you would prefer it to is by activating it, by acting on the thing that excites you the most to the best of your ability first, with no insistence on a particular outcome. That's how the formula activates the kit. So if you act on the thing that excites you the most first to the best that you are able to, until you can take it no further, and then look for the next option, and act on whichever one contains even just a little bit more excitement than any other option, no matter what it is, no matter how simple it seems, no matter how basic, no matter how mundane it may seem, if it contains even just a little bit more excitement than any other option at that moment, that's your synchronicity, that's your higher mind saying this is the thing to do next. If investing in stocks is in the mix somewhere of what really represents one expression of your excitement, it will be put into the mix in the proper order. Synchronicity will organize it to let you know when it is actually the appropriate time to act on that expression of your excitement as opposed to any other. If it never shows up, that's not what serves you. Are you beginning to understand how this machine works?
Yes, what I'm hearing is acting on your most excitement right now.
To the best of your ability.
To the best of your ability.
With zero insistence on a particular outcome. I know that that's a challenge for a lot of you. Zero insistence on a specific outcome. Do you understand why that's important?
Because your higher self is going to show you what you can't see in this form.
Exactly, and the physical mind can't always tell what that's going to be. But it will always be what's actually best for you. So the idea of having an image, a symbol, a goal, whatever you want to call it, a visualization, that's fine. But you use that to instill the state of being of excitement within you, because you get excited when you think about that goal, when you have that idea, when you see that visualization, it gets you excited. Oh yes, this is the best thing that could possibly happen. This is the best outcome I can imagine. That's fine. But once you get all excited about what it is you're seeing or thinking about, drop the goal, drop the vision utterly. Let it go, because you don't actually know if that representation is the best possible representation of that level of excitement. But your higher mind does know what the best representation is. And if you make space by dropping that picture, then you will allow the higher mind to fill that space with what really needs to be there. And in fact, if you understand that the physical mind has its limitations, then you will know that what the physical mind might think or believe to be the ideal outcome may actually be a limitation on the ideal outcome. So why would you prefer that? Does this make sense?
Yes, because, probably like most people, I bought into the idea 10 years ago when I wanted to do this as a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
To be with my children, and then I got in a habit of doing it. But I was putting forth from my physical mind to say, well, if I can make X amount of dollars, then I can do all this other stuff.
Making a lot of dollars doesn't always make the most sense. Do you understand? Because abundance is simply the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it.
I've heard you say that, yes.
All right. Well, if you've heard it, maybe you want to start practicing it. Because the idea is, it doesn't mean that you can't attract money into your life. That's one legitimate representation of abundance on your planet. It's a symbol of abundance. But that's all it is. It's a symbol, one symbol. If someone comes along and gives you something that allows you to do what you need to do, that's also a symbol of abundance. So if you know that it would be easier, the path of least resistance, for someone to actually come along and say, hey, you know what, I don't need this anymore, maybe you can use it, and it's exactly what you needed, would you actually put your foot down and say, no, thank you, I'm going to wait until I make enough money to get that. I'm not going to take it from you as a gift. Would you do that? Of course not. Do you understand?
Yes, there's more than one path to.
And when you focus only on one representation of abundance, you actually close the doors through which other forms can come.
I think that's what I've been doing.
I know. That's why I said what you need to be investing in is your own stock. So take stock of what your beliefs are and invest in yourself so that you can appreciate yourself more. Yes?
Yes.
And when you appreciate yourself fully, you will be rich beyond your wildest dreams in more ways than you can imagine, because you already are abundant. You all are already fully abundant. The issue is not learning to be abundant. The issue is learning what to be abundant in. Because you are always abundant in something, even if it's an abundance of lack. You cannot lack abundance, but you can have an abundance of lack. So if you don't prefer an abundance of lack, choose a different form of abundance.
Did you all bring your coins? Is there anyone who doesn't have a coin? All right. Now, remember that we suggested that it be, in your terms, a real coin. It is all well and good for you to be creative and make up coins or draw pictures of them, but we are now, in this exercise, talking about the idea of real money, in your terms. Would you rather have real money, or would you rather have an abundance of paper coins? All right. Get out your coins as you have chosen them. It doesn't matter whether they are pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, 50-cent pieces, dollar coins of any kind. It doesn't matter. Make sure it's a coin you believe is a real spendable coin. More than likely, I will leave this up to you, but more than likely you may want it to be a denomination from your own culture, so that you really feel you understand what you consider the value of that coin to be, rather than working from something that comes from another country on your planet. So, have you all got your coins? All right. Now, we're going to play a little game of exchange in the following way. I want one volunteer that has a penny. Who's got a penny? All right, stand up. I want one volunteer that has $1. All right, stand up. All right, now, I'm going to ask a question. Both of you, in whatever order, do you have a favorite candy? Do you have a favorite candy? Chocolate. All right, chocolate. Chocolate. You have a favorite candy? Both say chocolate. All right. All right. Now, person who has the penny, person who has the $1, all right. Exchange. Have you exchanged? Have you exchanged?
Yes, we have.
All right, now you have the penny?
Yes.
And you have the $1? Yes? Yes or no, do you?
Yes, $1.
Oh, all right. Are you sure?
I think $1, yes.
All right, thank you. All right. But it is $1, yes?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, now, who got the best of that deal? Well, it might depend on a lot of things, but in general, your society would think what?
I scored.
You scored. All right. And you?
I lost.
All right. You lost. Now, you with the $1. Hello?
Yeah.
Thank you. You have now come upon a vending machine containing your favorite candy.
Oh, boy.
The vending machine is one of those nice, charming little glass bubble jobs. It only takes pennies.
Oh, no.
Now how valuable is that penny to you? How valuable all of a sudden is that penny?
Can we trade?
Go ahead.
I don't know. It might be worth about $1.
Trade them back. Do you get the point?
I got it.
Relative value is not just the idea of what monetary value you have given to the coin, but what its value is to you at any given moment in any given situation. You can be walking down the street and you see that wonderful, delicious chocolate in that machine, and your pocket is full of dollars, and you need a penny. Now how rich are you? Not very. Not as rich as the person with the penny who can waltz right up to the machine and plunk it in and get that delicious chocolate. Because the person with the penny now has the ability to do what they wanted to do when they wanted to do it. And you don't. You have to go find someone to change the dollar. You go through a process, all well and good, but the point is already made, is it not? All right. I want you to look at the coin you have brought. You may sit down and relax if you are not already doing so. I want you to look at the coin you have brought. I want you to understand as you look at it that you are really, truly, truly developing a relationship with this coin. You're going to marry this coin. Yes, marry this coin. Every single one of you. So I would suggest that if it's not the coin you want to marry, you better get another coin out right now. However, remember what we just did. Remember what we just did in the lesson that was learned. Don't think, oh, I've got a penny, I better trade it for $1 quick. If you chose the penny, maybe there was a good reason for that, and maybe your imagination is saying it will work for you, and it actually is the perfect marriage for what you need in terms of discovering your relationship to money. It has nothing at all to do with the idea that that means you're only going to be getting pennies for the rest of your life. You can get dollars, you can get millions of them. But understand that this is about the relationship to money. And if you find that it feels better emotionally in your heart to marry the coin in your hand and not judge it by its so-called value, which we have just proven worthless in certain circumstances, then maybe you will let go for the moment of the idea of the arbitrary value and begin the true relationship to find the real value of money to you. The real value from your heart, not your head.
Recently, I heard about you following, mention about following your heart.
Yes.
And recently, I met somebody that has challenged me the way I love, meaning that I really love this person.
Yes.
And I want to go visit her in Canada.
All right, goodbye.
But it seems that I always keep bringing this idea.
Why are you still standing here?
Money.
Money?
Yeah, I feel
You think money's the only way to get to Canada?
Well, it seems that I bring that issue a lot, that if I go, I'm going to put myself more in debt.
I see. So you have a belief system that says you are not supported by your reality. And you have a belief or definition about abundance that says money is the only and most likely way that abundance can be represented in your society.
I guess so.
All right. Yeah. Money is perfectly a fine way, and you can attract more if you wish, but there are also other ways to attract abundance, because abundance really is just the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it.
I heard the definition soon, and I was really moved by that.
All right.
Yeah.
In your imagination, just as an exercise, is there some other way you could imagine being able to get to Canada without necessarily having to have as much money as you think?
I believe
just
so.
In your imagination.
Yes.
How? Describe what your imagination has come up with as another possible way to get to Canada without having so much money.
Well, the other possibility was that I had was that that the money will come regardless, because I've been...
That's fine, but I'm not asking you for the other quote-unquote practical things that might occur. I'm asking you to use your imagination and come up with a hypothetical idea, an imaginary way that might be possible to go to Canada. Do you want me to start the ball rolling?
Yes.
All right. Let me ask you this question first. Do you love this person?
Well, I recently met her, and she really challenges me the way I want to feel love.
All right. So is the answer yes?
Yes.
Thank you. By the way, just a hint, it might help you if you actually shorten your definitions. All right? Instead of making things so complicated.
Okay.
All right? Now,
If you, oh, well, all right, well, let me ask, do you have a preferred way of getting to Canada in terms of vehicular travel? Can you drive one of your automobiles there?
No.
Why?
My car probably won't make it.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
All right. Can you take a train?
Yes, did they go all the way to Canada?
Would you prefer to take a plane?
Yes, I guess because I don't want to take time from work for too long, which might be.
Am I asking you for any of this detail in your imaginary scenario?
No.
You see, here's my point, and you're really illustrating it very strongly.
Yeah.
I'm telling you to have an imaginary scenario, and yet, even in your imaginary scenario, you still don't want to take time off from work.
Yeah.
In your imaginary scenario, you don't have that consideration.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yes, I'm following.
All right. So, imagining that you could just get up and go, is a plane your preferred method of travel?
Yes.
All right. Where in Canada is this person?
Vancouver.
Vancouver. All right. So, you are saying you do not have the money to buy a plane ticket to Vancouver?
Yes.
All right. Are you saying you also don't have the time?
Yes.
All right. Would you rather find someone else closer to home that you do have time to see and don't need money to go travel to?
No.
No. All right. That's fine. Just making sure what's going on in your definition. Now then, how much time would you like to spend with her in Vancouver?
A week.
1 week. All right. In your imaginary scenario, is it possible for you to ask for a week off in your work?
Yes.
All right. So that's not a problem, yes?
Mm-hmm. No.
Oh, thank you. Now, can you go to the travel agency and say, this is the money I have. Can you help me get to Vancouver on this much money? Can you do that?
Yes.
Do you believe they will help you with the money you have? Hesitation means no.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you go to the airline and say, my true love is in Vancouver? I can't get there, I don't have the money. Can you please help me get there? Can you do that?
Yes.
Yes. Do you believe that might actually work? No. Do you know that there are people that exist on your planet who do those things and it does work?
Yes.
Why can't you be one of them? That's the question. I'm waiting.
I get it. I get it.
You did
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
No expectation, but I am suggesting you give yourself free rein to be a little bit more imaginative in your actual physical approach, not just in your mind,
Yeah.
but in actually doing these silly, crazy things, because that's actually how life works. And by doing that, don't do it with expectation, because it's not that we're saying that those things might be the way you will get there, but just doing that will get you out of your own way, which is the only thing stopping you from going. It'll loosen you up, show you what's possible, and you might be surprised at the responses you will actually get. You follow me?
Yes.
Let yourself be a little bit crazy. Don't worry, in time, everyone else will join you. I will take that as okay.
we thank you, each and every one of you individually, all of you together collectively, for the co-creation of this interaction. Once again, each and every time your civilization interacts with our civilization in this way, it creates a link, a bridge, and a third reality in which we can, one day, interact more and more closely, more and more immediately. So we thank you for the co-creation of this new paradigm, this new reality in which we can, all together, learn to play. This day of your time, this transmission will begin with a discussion of imagination. Now we have talked about imagination many times. We would like to take the concept a little bit further this day of your time. We have reminded you of the synchronicity in many of the words that exist in various languages on your planet. We understand the channel's language is English, and in this context, we point out again, as many of you are already familiar with, the synchronicity of the word imagination. Magi, nation. A nation of magicians is what you are. And you can use your imagination to create the kind of nation, the kind of world that you prefer. Imagination is an extremely powerful tool, and we will discuss in what ways this is so, and how you can apply your imagination in very powerful ways to allow and to create the kinds of changes that you would prefer to represent within your lives, individually, and again, within your lives, collectively, globally. And as you thus then move out into the cosmos, into the stars, and join with us eventually, you will find imagination is going to play a very key role in your ability to do that. So let us begin. We will remind you, first of all, that we have talked about the idea that imagination is the conduit between your higher mind and your physical mind. It is the pipeline through which your higher mind communicates with you, and through which, in receiving that communication, you can then, as physical beings, as physical personalities, apply the information, the imagination that comes from higher mind, the communication, into your physical lives, to alter them, to change them in ways that are more reflective of your passion, your excitement, your joy, your preference, or not. It is up to you to use this positively or negatively. It is up to you. But imagination is the key to allow an alignment to occur. And if you are willing to use your imagination without filtering the communication from your higher mind through belief systems that contain fear, then you will find that the outcome can always be a positive one, and you can always amplify and magnify that in any direction, in any area of your lives whatsoever, no matter what. Higher mind, again, I remind you, has the far-seeing point of view. It stands on the mountaintop. It can see all the pathways you could possibly take in life, and it guides you toward the path of least resistance, the path that is most truly you. As we have said many times, the vibration of excitement, the vibration of passion is what functions like the compass needle. It is your magnetic north to your true self. By following your passion, by following your excitement, by pointing the needle in that direction only, you will always be completely, purely, squarely on the path that is most truly you, your core, true, natural self. Your imagination is the conduit through which your higher mind can guide you in this very easily, if you allow it to be effortless, which you can. Physical mind, then,
chooses in physical reality various ideas of how to apply these ideas coming from the higher mind in ways that are also pleasing to the physical being that you are, the physical personality that you are, and you learn to work in concert as a whole being, as a whole person with the higher mind. For if the physical mind thinks that it must take on the job of figuring everything out, how is this going to happen? How can I make this happen? How can I bring everything together to get this to happen? If the physical mind thinks that it must be the only one doing that job, it is going to be burdened, it is going to be weighed down, it is going to be tired. Because the physical mind is not designed to know how things will happen. The physical mind is only designed to know how things have happened. The idea is thus then to trust the higher mind to let you know that if the higher mind is sending you information that pushes you in the direction of your passion and you trust that, what the higher mind is telling you is that by following your passion, the how will be taken care of, because the higher mind can see how you're going to get there, and the translation of that how through the imagination is the physical sensation of excitement, joy, passion, and love. That's how the higher mind speaks to the physical mind through the conduit of imagination, with those feelings, those vibrations, those energies, those pictures. So the physical mind can learn to relax and not feel it has to carry all the weight of the world on its shoulders for figuring out exactly how everything's going to come into manifestation in its life. You can allow the higher mind to guide you in that, and you can relax and ride the wave of the energy that the higher mind sends through the imagination and allow things to unfold in a synchronous manner, in an effortless, joyful, creative, loving manner. And thus then find yourself flowing through life. And even if the path that it leads you down may seem to be going left, going right, going here, going there, going where you least expected it to go, that is cause for celebration. Because as we say in our world, anytime something unexpected comes up, you want to say congratulations. Now you know you're really following your joy and allowing your life to unfold synchronously in front of you without it being so planned out, so rigidized, so insisting that it must be one way or another. Because if you really are open to the idea of what your higher mind can do through your imagination, it will almost always bring you something that is even more exciting than the physical mind was capable of actually picturing. So when you insist that it must be a certain way, you're actually limiting the ways in which it could actually come to you that might even be more exciting than you are actually capable of imagining. But imagination can act as the guide, the initial visualization mechanism to at least give you a bearing, give you a heading. And you can use that picture as a symbol to represent the energy, to symbolize the energy of the reality that is representative of your highest joy, of who you wish to be. But if you rigidize that picture and insist that it must turn out that way, then you're actually fighting against the flow of your higher mind. If you relax that it could come to you in another way and that what you're picturing is just a representation of that reality, then the energy can flow and you may find yourself winding up in a situation that is even more wildly fantastic than you were at first capable of picturing. Now, here is something else that is very important to understand about what imagination is. First of all, of course, understand it is a state of being. And any state of being causes certain kinds of states to exist in the neurology of your brain. When you are in an imaginative, creative state, your brain, the neurology, the way the electrical pathways flow will be different than any other state. Here is something that is important to understand. When you are born in physical reality, the first moment that you crystallize, shall we say, your spirit into the physical matrix, it crystallizes a kind of pattern within you that represents the idea of your soul agreement, your relationship to your higher self at that moment. What happens to it from there on will depend upon a lot of things, including input from your parents, society, so on and so forth. But that core agreement, that core relationship will always exist. So when you go through life and you've lived several years and maybe you find yourself becoming in your older age a little bit confused, a little bit forgetful of where you're going, why you came here, so on and so forth, looking for your joy, looking for your passion. Going into the state where you allow yourself to communicate with higher mind through your imagination will actually always bring you back to your 0 moment agreement of when you were born. It will actually restructure the neurological pathways of the brain back to that childlike moment where anything is possible. That's what's key to understand about the function of imagination in your physical reality. It's your reset button. So when you find yourself feeling lost, feeling confused, feeling at odds, go into your imagination. Open up the conduit of communion between your physical mind and higher mind and push the reset button. Go back to the 0 point. Let the neurological pathways realign. And then in that state, open up to the infinite possibilities and the choices you have made. And go forward from there afresh, anew, reinvigorated as a new persona. Because again, remember. When you make any change, you have made a total change. And that is what imagination allows you to do. Realign yourself in such a way in bringing yourself back to a kind of 0 point that you can then step out from there on any path you really so desire that is representative of your highest passion. And know that when you do so, you really have cleaned the slate. And anything that may have seemed to be an issue that was an obstacle or a complication in your life formerly, at that moment of zeroing yourself out, is actually no longer there. Now, you can co-create it again. You can say, oh, it's still there. I still have to get over this. I still have to deal with this. You can do that. If that's your process, that's fine. I am not telling you how to live your life. If you want to include complications and misery in your life, please go ahead. I will not stop you, because if that's what gives you, quote-unquote, joy, then by all means go ahead and involve yourself in that idea of struggle. If that's your process, love it. And then you'll get the most out of it. What I am simply saying is you do not have to do that. You actually have a choice. And in that moment that you zero yourself out with your imagination and allow your neurology to realign, recrystallize back to that first moment, that first agreement, when you were a child, a newborn child, and step forward in that state of being, then all bets are off, as you say. You really have lost your history. You really only live in the present in that moment. And what you do from that moment forward is up to you. And it will be, it can be your reality completely, wholly, totally. Now, we have talked about the idea of imagination in context to the concept of all that is. The universe, if you will, the multiverse, creation in totality. Whatever you wish to label it, it doesn't matter. And then we spoke about the idea of understanding this. You cannot imagine non-existence. Go ahead, I'll give you a minute, try it out. There, you see? Couldn't do it. Because the point is that even if you could, by definition, imagining non-existence would be non-experiential. Therefore, how would you know you had done it? You would have no experience of it. And in having no experience of it, in that context, it isn't relevant. It doesn't exist. Therefore, conversely, anything, everything that you can imagine is somewhere, somewhen, somehow a reality, a real reality. It may not necessarily be relevant to the reality you are creating on Earth, but it is nevertheless real in some parallel dimension, some other reality, whatever you wish to label it. Whatever you imagine is also happening simultaneously with the reality that you are actually physically experiencing. So if in your imagination you do imagine you have 3 arms, wings, 4 eyes, and are purple, there is a reality where such a being, such a version of your soul actually does exist. It may not ever cross paths with you on Earth. You may never know that until you go to higher planes where you can see more of your soul's creation, and then you will go, oh yeah, there I am. Doing that thing in that universe with that kind of a form for that kind of a reason, because that's a symbol and a reflection of that kind of path and that kind of an experience. So anything you imagine is, in fact, tapping into some other simultaneously coexistent real reality. Yes, really, really real. Just as real as you feel your physical reality is for you. Now, the idea, of course, is one of discernment. It is real, but is it relevant to your reality? The idea of following your joy, following your passion, it's not to say you cannot create that here, but it is highly improbable, not impossible, but highly improbable based on the agreement you made to participate in the co-created mass consensus reality of Earth at this point in space-time, as you have created it. Strange things can happen on your planet, and strange things have and always will. And some of them are the confluence of someone actually fully letting go of any assumptions and expectations about what this reality has to be, opening the door a little wider than normal, and perhaps suddenly, there you go, something pops in that may not normally be relevant to your reality, and suddenly a legend is born, a myth is born. Oh, did you know there was such a creature, such a thing, such a happening? Well, those things do happen. They may pop in, they may pop out and never be seen again. That doesn't mean they weren't real at that moment. It may have simply been only, in a sense, I'll put it this way, a momentary defocusing, a momentary relaxing of your agreement, but it also may be part of your agreement in the sense of presenting those kinds of ideas and realities to yourself so that you can play off them, reflect off them, and see how it might apply to some aspect of your agreement here in this reality. Nothing happens by accident. It can all be played off of. It's all an orchestration. All we are simply saying is, it's also a matter of discernment as to what works for you. And if you use your imagination in this way and apply these things in a manner that will work for you based on your understanding of your true self and the agreement that you made to be your true self in this particular modality, in this particular reality, then you can stay aligned and harmonious with your higher self and understand what it is you can achieve in this reality. You have far fewer limitations in this reality than you think, even within the parameters of the limitations you have imposed upon yourself for what is possible in this reality, or at least what is probable. The idea is that anything that represents your true joy, anything that represents your true self, your true passion, is manifestable. Is manifestable. But it is also about you paying attention to what is actually representative of your passion and not representative of your anxiety that is simply being called your passion. It requires discernment on your part to know whether you're coming from fear or true joy, and not labeling things that are representative of your fear as excitement when they actually in fact are not, but also vice versa. Not labeling your joy as a fear when it actually is representative of your true path. Because many people on your planet will stay away from the thing that really excites them the most because they have put a label of fear on it, or society has taught them to do so. This again is where your imagination can, in a sense, come to the rescue. Go back to your 0 point, press your reset button, and go, wait a minute. Who am I at the core? Who do I imagine myself to really be? What kind of person am I passionate about being? What kind of life am I passionate about living? In your imagination, you can see all those things. And that's why I have said many, many times, what's important, whether it becomes literally manifest as you see it in your imagination or not, what's important for communication and harmonization between the physical mind and higher mind is that when you do get a picture in your imagination of who you prefer to be, what you prefer to be doing, where you prefer to be doing it, how you prefer to be doing it, when you see that, all you really have to do is mimic it, mirror it, act it out as best as you can on all levels of your life. All you have to do is be like that person in your mind's eye. Do things the way he or she would do it. And then when you start doing things the way he or she would do it, you will change your vibration to the vibration that is representative of that life. And when you shift your vibration to the representation of that life, you will start to synchronistically have that life. All the things that are representative of what that you would have will come in. So that's how to use your imagination as an actual tool, an actual application tool. The idea being that when you open up to your imagination, you reset yourself, take yourself back to 0. Then you create the picture that is you, that you prefer to be. Then you act like it. You behave like it. And then you have 1, 2, 3, the whole manifestation process right there. 1, 2, 3. Let yourself reset using your imagination. Let yourself create using your imagination. Let yourself act it out using your imagination. And your imagination, thus then used in the 1, 2, 3 way, will allow you to become the magician that you are, and you will become a nation of magi. Do you understand this? All right. Now, we will, as this transmission goes on, of course, investigate some of these concepts a little bit more deeply and a little bit more personally as you engage us in questions and discussions. And just the thing to keep in mind while this is going on is that no matter how physical this interaction seems, it's also all happening in your imagination. Because remember, physical reality isn't by itself real, except the experience of it is. Physical reality and everything you experience in your life is created, whether you know it or not, whether you're conscious of it or not, through what you imagine your reality to be. Your beliefs, obviously, your definitions obviously play a part. Your emotions play a part. Your thoughts play a part. But it is your beliefs, your emotions, and your thoughts that all wrap together into the triangle of your personality prism, and once it locks together in that triangle is the template of the imagination that activates your reality. That's the conduit through which you send those beliefs, definitions, emotions, and thoughts up to the realm of the higher self, where manifestation is immediate and instantaneous, and energy is all pervasive. Then the higher self, the higher mind, sends that thought, reflects it back through the imagination to the physical mind, and gives it to you in terms of the passion of your true self, so that by simply acting on it, by simply following your passion, the higher self lets you know, this is the wish you have sent me, translated into the language of the higher mind. Do it. Act it out. Act it out, and you will be speaking the language of the higher mind. You will be blended and harmonized as the physical mind and a higher mind into one holistic being, one holistic person that can then reflect that relationship into manifestations in an imagination reality that is being created by you. It is just a mirror. That's all it is. It's just reflecting back what you imagine it can be. That's all it is. So, as we said, with that in mind, we would invite you.
All right.
First question is from an individual who is saying their wife passed away last Friday, and the person feels overwhelmed. They have 2 children, and they feel guilty and responsible for their lives to move on, as well as since they no longer have a mother figure. And the person's been crying all week, and they're trying to be strong for their children. Do you have any advice for this person? Is there something that their wife or their spirit guide wants them to know? And is this part of their process of going through the eye of the needle? How do they proceed from here?
All right. Well, we are not going to necessarily interrupt their grieving period. They must let go of their fear-based beliefs about the situation in whatever timing they feel they can manage. But at the same time, know that this was all done in terms of an arrangement of timing, and that the loved one in spirit can still aid and assist and send messages and love to those still physical. But the idea is guilt does not serve the children that you are responsible for. It will actually prevent you from giving them what they need. There is no reason for you to be guilty. The idea is that this would not necessarily have come to pass if you couldn't handle it, if this wasn't by an arrangement and an agreement. We would suggest you reach out to your wife, knowing that the sooner you can relax the feelings of grief, use an opportunity for you to align with Spirit more strongly, to receive more messages from her, to receive guidance from her and your spirit guides in terms of what you and the children may require for your continuation on earth. And know that she is always with you, unconditionally loving, sending energy, sending help. More likely you will receive these in dream time. But look around with open eyes at the synchronicities in your life, knowing that many of them may be coming from her as messages to you. Relax your heart and open your heart to receive these messages in the best way you possibly can by looking around and being alert and paying attention to the synchronicities that will crop up in your life, allowing you to move forward in an easier way. We would suggest that you take some time for yourself to visit places that were of interest to both of you when she was alive, knowing that in those places that you love to be together in, there may be more receptivity on your part. And even though you may be crying, know that this is a release and a letting go and an accepting, eventually, of the situation at hand that you have both agreed to for the purpose of stretching you and your children towards spirit, knowing that one of the parents is now in spirit, can help you all progress and ascend and accelerate your learning and your lives and enrich your lives in a number of ways. Explore the idea with your children of communication with spirit, for it is as real as any form of communication, and perhaps in some cases even more real, as you understand that term. But work together with the children to open up in beautiful places to the idea that you can receive messages through synchronicity and in dreams, and maybe in other ways as well. And remember her favorite things. For when you do remember her favorite things, again, you may relax and open your heart to receive more information from her. these would be the things for now that we would suggest to help you through this particular period until such time as you yourself become more accustomed to realizing that as long as you consider this to be a loss, as long as you define it as a loss, then you will only continue to grieve each and every time that your wife may actually reach out to connect to you. You will only interpret her energy as a loss and feel more grief. But if you understand that sometimes what you may feel as grief is simply your interpretation that she is gone, instead of your interpretation that she is there with you and helping you, allow yourself to relax that definition so you can receive the help she is giving, the help she is sending, the information she is sharing with you. That will lead you forward. This is what we have to say at the moment.
What is the difference between guilt and responsibility when it comes to dealing with family members? I've tried to maintain the relationships, but they are no longer exciting. Continuing with these relationships feels heavy and burdening, yet I feel guilt for keeping my distance. I, of course, love them, yet prefer to focus on my own self-discovery. Can you help me in this scenario?
Now, there are two ways to address this. Number one, if you feel it is absolutely true for you to not interact physiologically with these people because you are vibrationally so incompatible that it simply makes no sense to do so, that is a choice you can make. And again, by doing so, it can be the most loving thing you can do by showing them the consequences of not choosing to match your frequency and maintaining the connection on their part. At the same time, if you truly are in touch with yourself and the vibrational state you know is true for you, then in some senses it wouldn't necessarily matter if you maintain a connection physically with them, because it won't affect you. You will not feel guilty, you will just be yourself, and you will know that you're acting as a living example to demonstrate to them different choices they could make. Whether they choose to do so or not is not the point. The point is that you may give them a choice, you may give them an opportunity to choose something different by maintaining a physical connection and not being affected by anything that is vibrationally incompatible with what you prefer to be. But again, it is up to you to decide when you have reached a limit, when you have realized that they may simply not choose to change and may in fact actually push you away by resenting the idea of what you are showing them. And that might be your signal that physical connection may need to cease. So you need to simply prepare yourself to make a choice by first and foremost getting a stronger connection in yourself about what is true for you. Feeling guilty about this will only connect you more to the vibration you say is incompatible and that you don't prefer. So that makes no sense for you to feel the sense of guilt, because all you're doing is accepting the idea that they resent that you are changing. They resent that you are different, perhaps because it acts as an example to them of things they were not willing to face within themselves. You can act as a living example if you maintain your vibration of preference, but again, you don't have to, because even if you don't, it still serves as an indication to them of what choices they have made and the consequences of those choices relative to maintaining a physical relationship with you. So if they wish to do so, they would have to change. Not that they will, but they would have to do so.
How does that apply in a situation where a person has had an abusive childhood and now their aging parents are requiring their support and their attention, and the person feels guilty because they're not willing to be physically present with their parents under the circumstances because of the past?
Again, it's the same that we just said. If you maintain a strong sense of your vibration and at the same time realize that you can be of some assistance to someone, if it is truly true that they need that assistance, you must make that determination for yourself as opposed to things they can do for themselves or not. So if you have determined that you have made a familial connection by being born to these people, and that there is something you could truly help them with to aid and assist them in whatever they're going through, whatever process they're going through, and yet at the same time maintain the strength of your connection to who you truly are, then you will not be negatively affected by whatever behaviors they may choose to exhibit, knowing that you are being of great assistance to them if they truly need it, and that that is the most important thing, is to demonstrate to them the unconditional love that you know can be expressed by you to truly aid and assist them if they truly require it, and at the same time not be negatively affected by whatever their reactions or responses or behaviors may be in that circumstance and situation. And it gives you an opportunity to practice letting go of the idea of the past, since again, if you realize many of the things we have been sharing with all of you, there in a sense is no such thing. You are recreating the idea of abuse in every moment in the present out of your own need to do so. So discontinue your need to hang on to the idea of the abuse because of your belief systems that you may require it for some reason, that it serves you in some way. And when you let that go, you will be able to stand in the face of great opposition, and you will be able to face those fires with coolness and calm them down within yourself, regardless of what the other people may choose to do.
And we've noticed that often when parents get elderly, they get early signs of dementia or behaviors that could be suggestive of dementia. And that part of that can be being abusive and impossible to deal with, in a sense, irrational in their behavior. Is that again this idea of stepping outside of the issues of abuse from the past and simply recognizing that the person is not themselves, in a sense?
Yes.
When they're elderly.
Yes, and if they are experiencing the symptoms you have described, they are usually making their transition, whether quickly or slowly, into spirit, but they may be momentarily confused about what is real, because they are bordering two realities, the physical and the non-physical. And therefore, you can recognize and excuse their behavior as one of confusion. And again, if you stay strong within yourself and know what your truth is, it will not affect you any more than a stranger making an irrational statement would, because they have become strangers to you and you to them in many ways.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about the inherent guilt surrounding religion? This person says, I was brought up in a Jewish tradition, and it's been a long road in terms of shedding guilt. Guilt if you're happy, guilt if you're healthy, guilt if you're wealthy, guilt if the other shoe is going to drop. I would love for you to talk about untangling this kind of guilt.
All right. Well, first and foremost, it's not inherent. It's taught. That's a major distinction to make. And therefore, it can be untaught. It's simply about recognizing whether or not the guilt serves you. As we have talked about the motivational mechanism, please do remember, you absolutely do nothing that you don't believe serves you in some way. So this is about really doing an honest, deep investigation of what it is you believe you're getting out of having the guilt. What does it allow you to experience or not experience that makes you feel safer in having it than in letting it go? This requires a very deep and honest investigation of self in order to admit that if you're holding on to guilt and keep repeating it, no matter how much you were taught it, if you're now able to discern the difference between guilt and freedom, guilt and love, then you have the ability to dive into your motivational mechanism and ask yourself why you would be motivated to continue to perpetuate something if it doesn't really serve you. Because the only way you would keep feeling it is if you believe it does. So it requires a lot of transparent self-investigation to ask the question, what am I getting out of continuing to hold on to guilt? There must be something about holding on to it that makes me feel safer than the alternative. And if you're willing to investigate and go down that path, you will eventually be able to pick it apart and figure out why you're holding on to the guilt, because you think there's some advantage to doing so. Otherwise, you would not feel it at all.
How can we be at peace with the idea that we may have hurt, wronged, or made mistakes with others along the way on our learning journey? How can we release those feelings of guilt and regret about the impact we've had on other lives that may have been negative so that we can move forward in a more aligned way?
Well, the idea is self-forgiveness and the recognition that if you know you made a mistake, so to speak, and are willing to correct it in your own energy and not make the same mistake again and not be abusive to other people in that way because you recognize it is out of alignment with who you prefer to be, then you have corrected the energy and there's no reason for guilt. Guilt perpetuates the idea of the misalignment. So why would you hold on to the idea of misalignment if you recognize that you were misaligned and don't prefer to be misaligned anymore in your behaviors and actions? Why hold on to any remnant of the misalignment, which you would experience as guilt if you truly wish to move forward? If you recognize you were misaligned and have a desire to realign yourself and correct the mistake in some way, shape, or form, then there is no vestige of guilt that would remain if you've actually done that. So you can't really move forward until you accept that you made a mistake and now you wish to correct the mistake and the energy within yourself and bring yourself back into alignment.
And along those lines, are there any experiences that are more or less spiritual than others? Is it possible to do a good, bad, better, or worse job with our lifetime? And is there really a mistake? Can we really get this wrong? A lot of these ideas perhaps bring about a lot of self-judgment, so that's why this person is asking the question.
Ultimately, no. You are not judged by all that is or anything except yourself. Ultimately. But there is still the ability to recognize what it is you prefer, what it is you don't, what it is that is vibrationally representative and compatible with who you prefer to be, and when you are in alignment or out of alignment with that. That is the only thing that could be considered a mistake, even though it's not meant in the traditional sense. In other words, a mistake is simply a recognition, an alignment energy that allows you to recognize that you may have been out of alignment with who you really, truly, at your core, are and prefer to be. Oneness and alignment and harmony with all that is. So a mistake, ultimately, no, is something that can be used as a learning experience, a teaching experience, to reflect back to you that you may not necessarily be operating in the state of being you prefer to. And in that sense, if you learn the lesson from that and recognize the truth of that and bring yourself back into alignment, then you have used the so-called mistake in a way that makes it not a mistake, because you've used it in a way that brings you back into harmony, into alignment. So ultimately, no. But in the moment, you can simply recognize and use your words, whatever words you wish to use to identify the misalignment, to bring yourself back into alignment.
Okay, and is there a way to unite the unconscious and the subconscious minds with the conscious mind so that we can be consciously aware of all three? And would there be an advantage to our physical experience that way?
As long as you are physical, you will not completely dissolve all three, but you can allow them to work more efficiently together and mirror the physical version of a higher mind. But while you are physical, all three are somewhat necessary so that you can experience timing and processing of whatever information your conscious mind truly needs at any given moment. So there will always be some slight holdback, some slight process of funneling the information that's necessary at any given moment through. But yes, you can allow, by accelerating yourself, by raising your frequency, the barriers to become less solid so that they can work together, all three divisions can work together much more efficiently, much more fluidly.
Okay. And this person says, I'm interested in why we are specifically among all the other options for who or what we could be as a unique expression. So I guess why we are who we are. How is it possible for us to have preferences if we all come from unconditional love?
Because it is unconditional by the very definition of the word, you can be whatever you choose to be. Therefore, you choose whatever theme of exploration at any given moment your consciousness believes will allow it to experience what it needs for its own growth, whatever it is interested in, exploring in that sense. So you have the freedom to choose whatever you wish.
Do we have the option of choosing to come to Earth to do negative things?
You do have that option, but again, remember that when you say negative, a lot of times you will choose negative mechanisms to do positive things. For example, the idea that you are limiting your consciousness in order to have a physical experience is a positive utilization of a negative mechanism because you are imposing a limitation for various positive reasons, for experiential reasons, on your broader consciousness. So yes, in the way that you meant the question, it is possible that you may see that someone doing something that would be considered to be negative could inspire others to act positively and perhaps change things in a more positive direction by having something negative to push against.
Is there an optimal way to meditate? And is there like a best length? And is 10 minutes just as effective as 1 hour? Or-
Not necessarily. It takes about 15 minutes for the neurological pathways of your brain to rewire themselves effectively in a lasting way. So the idea of whatever form of meditation you are attracted to would be the best thing for you, the best permission slip. And we would say optimally, allow yourself at least 15 minutes. You can go for longer, you can go for an hour. Again, it depends upon how you decide to adjust it that works best for you. But at the very minimum, 15 minutes is usually required for most physical individuals to allow for the appropriate amount of rewiring of the brain to be effective in terms of making the changes that you typically seek to make.
Okay, thank you. Following up from the guilt and responsibility transmission, is guilt always an indication that there is an energy alignment necessary, or can that mechanism get out of whack a bit? Is it possible for us to have a habit of unnecessarily being guilty when we feel guilty about things that we don't even need to really be adjusted about? And
Yes.
if so, how can we know the difference and clean up the confusion and the energy alignment mechanism can work as intended?
The sensation you call guilt, that you recognize as guilt, is always an indication that there is a misalignment within you or a negative belief at work. Otherwise, it's just awareness and recognition of something. It doesn't necessarily have an experience of guilt attached to it if you're just aware of something from a neutral position. The idea of being guilty when you know you have no need to be guilty in that sense is one of the results of actually giving in to the negative definition, the negative belief system, because again, it keeps attempting to perpetuate itself and thus continues to perpetuate the guilty feeling even when you intellectually know there's no reason for you to experience guilt. So that is simply a residual side effect of, or an echo, if you will, of having given in to the idea of the negative and fear-based belief that creates the initial guilt feeling to begin with. The idea, again, is to recognize that it comes from a fear-based belief, to explore and investigate yourself with honesty about what that belief could be, and truly get to the core understanding of what the fear-based belief is telling you as a story, to allow yourself to really see the details in that story and recognize that they are generally nonsensical when you get to the heart of the matter. That is how you can dissolve any reason to keep perpetuating the idea of guilt and allow yourself to let that go.
So, as an example, survivor guilt. Is there a way to transmute that? Or is that happening at such a deep level? And it seems a little different than normal.
It is not. It is not different, because it still is the result of harboring a negative belief that you could have done something, and in some senses it robs other individuals who may have passed on of their choices. So to be guilty about the fact that you are still alive while someone else may have died is, again, nonsensical, because you are not allowing yourself or allowing them to have made their choices from a higher level. You're not trusting the timing of what's going on. Now, this doesn't mean that the idea of what causes the death cannot be mitigated, cannot be changed in the future for other people. But the idea of whatever it is that does happen, even if it results in someone else's death, must simply be recognized as the result of belief systems or themes or choices that they have made, even unconsciously. And to be guilty about being someone who remains alive, in some sense, dishonors the choices that they made, instead of utilizing those to make differences in your own life and in your own understanding about your connection to those who have passed on into spirit. So survivor guilt, again, is simply a residual recognition of the fact that you've been holding on to fear-based beliefs and negative beliefs about your own worthiness to be alive, about the choices you are making. And it can be used in a positive way to correct anything that might have been a misunderstanding, a misinterpretation, or a miscalculation in your own life. But the idea of holding on to the guilt does not allow you to move forward, nor does it allow you to develop a recognizable relationship with those who have passed on in a way that can serve you and in a way that honors them for their choices.
You talk sometimes about how there are consequences to our choices and actions.
Yes.
How can we hear the word consequences so that we don't perceive it in a negative or punitive way? Sometimes I fear consequences catching up with me from past mistakes, even though I've already healed, learned from them, and brought myself back into alignment. How can I release that fear and work with this teaching in a more positive way?
There's an oxymoron in the question you have asked, because if you have actually healed yourself and brought yourself back into alignment, there would not be the definition of consequences in a punitive manner. So when you say that you are still experiencing a punitive definition of a simple neutral consequence of an action taken, then you're not in alignment. You have not brought yourself back into alignment. There is still a fear-based belief at the heart of your experience. But look at it this way. A consequence is simply the neutral result of an action taken. Let us say, for example, you simply drop a ceramic cup. The consequence of dropping it may be that it actually shatters on the floor. Is the shattering on the floor a punishment? No. It is just the neutral consequences of having dropped the cup in a gravitational field. The fact that you would say, oh, I am being punished now because the cup shattered, is simply the result of a nonsensical negative belief system. So by recognizing the nonsense in the idea of defining something that is simply the neutral result of an action taken, but heaping upon it the idea of self-judgment, then you can more easily separate the concept of punitive definitions from a neutral consequence.
Can you tell us the best way to follow the higher mind? How can we trust and understand its messages? And is it possible to follow the messages of the higher mind without first working with the shadows of the subconscious mind?
Again, this is a slight misunderstanding of the formula that we have shared with all of you. Following your passion is what allows you to determine what to let go of so that you can more readily follow the higher mind's guidance, which comes to you through passion. Remember, the toolkit that is contained when you act on your passion contains the reflective mirror that brings to your attention the idea of any belief within you that is out of alignment with your true vibration. So by acting on your passion and allowing the ideas to come up that may be out of alignment and working with it to let it go, you actually give yourself more ability to have more discernment and deal with these ideas of negative belief systems more easily in the future. So it is the very act of following your passion that brings these things to your attention, because bringing these things to your attention is part of your passion.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Does listening to subliminal messages or a recording of affirmations while you sleep in order to tap into your subconscious mind have any benefit to us in creating the experiences we prefer? Can it expedite us raising our vibration to match the experiences we prefer to have, as having good health or abundance or money? Or is it just another permission slip that will work for some and not for others? Does the subconscious mind need a permission slip?
Yes, it is a permission slip, because everything in physical reality is a permission slip. Will it work for some and not for others? Yes. Is it effective for some? Yes, because it is a permission slip that they've gravitated to, been attracted to, and it is the attraction that usually indicates it will work for the person who is attracted to use that particular permission slip. So in that sense, it is a simple answer of knowing that it is something you are attracted to, that at least will temporarily work for you while you are attracted to it, and can be effective for those that align with it in terms of their belief system. But it's up to you to recognize also that it may change for you. So go with the flow. Whatever it is you're attracted to as a permission slip, by all means use it for the length of time you are attracted to it. When you're no longer attracted to use it, you'll find that something else will work for you. That's part of your evolutionary growth.
Can you mention some of the ways that our higher mind communicates with us?
It communicates primarily through, again, the sensation of objects or situations and circumstances that contain more excitement and passion or attractiveness or curiosity than any other. And it amplifies these things and delivers them quite often through the auspices of the fact that everything is connected, meaning synchronicity.
Right, so synchronistic symbols would also be communications from the higher mind?
Yes.
And when we have a negative belief, does that mean that we should ask ourselves why we have it and try to eliminate that belief by waiting for an answer that doesn't make any sense to us? Or is there other?
Well, you're not waiting. It's an active process of self-investigation to allow yourself to render the belief nonsensical. It doesn't just happen on its own, because if you don't do anything about it, if you don't investigate it, if you don't look deeply within yourself with honesty and curiosity and a willingness to change, then the negative belief will simply keep perpetuating itself. So it's not about waiting for it to make no sense. It's about actively seeking ways and understanding ways in which it simply no longer makes sense to you. One way is to look around in your reality, on your planet, and see if there's someone doing something similar in their passion as to what you would find also passionate about, exciting about, doing, and recognize what it is that's different between you that allows them to do it, but not you. It is in that difference you will find the difference in your definitions, and then perhaps it will stand out more clearly why the definition for you is nonsensical, because if they can do it, why can't you?
So are the beliefs in the unconscious mind or the subconscious mind, these negative beliefs?
They're in the conscious mind, sometimes in the subconscious mind or unconscious mind, but they actually originate within the conscious mind, because the idea of those negative beliefs is not natural to your greater being. It's things that are learned and ingrained within you in the conscious world, in the conscious reality. Again, either by your circumstances and situations, your parents, your friends, your schooling, your society. These are all introduced into the conscious mind. Aspects of these then beliefs negative beliefs filter into your subconscious and unconscious mind when you are given perhaps contradictory information that you don't know how to process, don't know how to handle. So you store them in the subconscious and unconscious mind to be released later when you might gain enough information and knowledge and experience to be able to understand them at that point, bring them back into the conscious mind to determine for yourself at that point what it is that's nonsensical and irrelevant for you and what it is you determine you will keep believing in. So again, the subconscious and unconscious mind are used as different types of reservoirs to hold on to things you can't immediately process. But all of these negative beliefs are, in a sense, received by the conscious mind. Now, the only exception to this, and it's not really an exception, but just an augmentation, would be that if you have decided as a spirit to come into the reality with a certain theme you will explore, then you might allow the conscious mind to be, shall we say, more open to receiving some of these negative and fear-based beliefs that you will then use in your process to overcome and, shall we say, transform so that you can fulfill the theme that you chose to explore. But the fear-based beliefs are still received by the conscious mind, even though you make, shall we say, set up a likelihood of accepting them from a higher level to begin with as a representation of a theme that you will choose to explore.
Can you comment on the idea of compartmentalization and how that can shield one from the consequences of negative beliefs?
Compartmentalization, because you operate in a physical reality that has time and space and can have time lags and so on and so forth, can be used as a certain vibrational pattern to, in a sense, act as a filtering system so that you can achieve certain things on one level while holding off on certain kinds of consequences on another level. In other words, you're storing everything for later dissemination, for later analyzation, for later observation. And this is why, when you pass into spirit, you cannot avoid the idea of life review, where you experience the consequences of every action that you took. Because now, in that state of being, non-physically, you have dissolved all of the barriers. There is no more conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. It's all right there in one awareness. And thus, at that point, if not at any point earlier, you will experience every single idea, every single consequence, every single action, every single emotion, everything you may have put into the reservoir for later analysis will come flooding in during the life review if you do not deal with them in the physical reality at some point.
Can you say a little more about how you actually experience life review? I think one questioner was concerned about going through it, that it seems fearful or...
You will not experience it in a fearful way. You will understand through a form of spiritual empathy what it is that any other person that may have been affected by a choice you made would have felt, would have experienced. But I know this sounds like a little bit of a contradiction or an oxymoron, but you experience all these things from a neutral position. You experience them fully as if it's happening to you, but since there is absolutely no judgment on it from the spiritual perspective, you are not experiencing any of the things you would heap upon yourself in physical reality, such as judgment for having done it. And therefore, while you can experience it in its fullest form, you do not actually experience the judgment that would amplify it in a negative way. Therefore, there is nothing to fear. It is simply absorbed as information and knowledge and experience, and used in a positive way to determine what you will do next and how you will grow from those things, how you will learn from those things. I know this may not be absolutely clear to you, since most of you are absolutely not used to experiencing any lack of judgment at all on the things you do, on the negative ideas, on the negative fear-based beliefs. But by eliminating the idea of self-judgment, you simply can experience a full emotional experience of what someone else may have experienced in physical reality, but without the judgment, it is not experienced in any way, shape, or form that is fear-inducing.
So back to the idea of compartmentalization, an individual that's capable of compartmentalizing and then doing harm to thousands of people through negative acts and
Yes.
worldwide consequences for
Yes.
their behavior.
Yes.
When they go this on this planet, you can experience those kinds of things, and yet when you go through life review, the idea of the karma or the
It's not karma. It's not karma.
none of that is going to happen, right?
You will experience the consequence of everything you did, and you will experience it from the points of view of every single person that was engaged or involved or affected in some way, shape, or form. You will experience it all as if it's happening to you, each and every individual, and not even immediately, but even those that have repercussions and ripples that extend sometimes for days, months, weeks, years, and centuries. You'll experience every single consequence and ripple effect that came as a result of the choices that you made. So it's not that you escape it, but you don't experience it as a punishment. You experience it as an experience.